I now give the floor to the distinguished representative of Chile to introduce an address by the head of state.
President, Secretary General, it is my honor to introduce the statement to be delivered by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Chile, Don Sebastián Piñera Echeñique, who will address this General Assembly on the occasion of the 75th session of the General Assembly. Thank you very much.
Señor Presidente de la Asamblea.
President of the General Assembly, Secretary General of the United Nations, ladies and gentlemen, heads of state and of government, distinguished delegates. Every generation has been confronted with its own unique set of problems and challenges. For our generation, the problems and challenges ranged against us are particularly taxing and difficult. Some have arisen without warning, such as the coronavirus pandemic and the global economic recession it has brought in its wake. Others were manifest in the past, but have emerged in particularly virulent form in these days, such as climate change and global warming. Confronting the challenges of our generation represents the mother of all battles, because these are battles to ensure our very survival. A scant year ago, nobody could have imagined that an invisible and microscopic virus would unleash the worst health, social and economic catastrophe of the last century. No country was prepared to resist it, and as long as we lack an effective and safe vaccine, we will have to learn to live with this virus, which has upended our ways of working, studying, shopping and relating. In a nutshell, the virus has radically impacted how we pursue full, meaningful lives. And this represents a major challenge, but also a major opportunity. How have we been grappling with this challenge in Chile? Our chief priority and concern is to protect the health and life of all our compatriots, and in particular, the health and life of our senior citizens and of at-risk groups. To that end, we rolled out the Health Protection Plan, which saw a tripling of the capacity of our healthcare system and enabled it to address the needs of those suffering from COVID. This has also enabled us to carry out more than 3 million PCR tests, covering close to 15% of our population. But this response does not end with healthcare alone. A medical response is of course vital, but by no means sufficient in and of itself. Protecting the health and the lives of our fellow citizens, particularly when they are under quarantine, also means guaranteeing that families have access to the provision of basic and essential goods and services. It also means taking action to protect jobs and income of families, to protect SMEs, and to ensure the smooth functioning and performance of our economy in order to position it to get back on its feet as soon as possible. For the Chilean people, these have been hard and harrowing months. Recognition of this reality prompted the government to develop a social protection plan to protect the incomes and jobs of families, particularly those from the most vulnerable segments of society and the middle class. This plan currently provides coverage for more than 14 million Chileans, providing aid and support. This means that 3 in every 4 Chileans are protected by this special network of social protection, which together we have crafted and fine-tuned over the last 6 months of the emergency. But we cannot be satisfied with providing such security to our compatriots solely in times of emergency. We must be far-sighted, and we must be in a position to make progress towards building a system that will provide protection on an ongoing basis. To achieve this goal, there is a pressing need to regain jobs lost, to create new jobs as well, to rebuild our economy. In particular, we need to regain the almost 2 million jobs that we have lost. We need to regalvanize our economy, and we need to put our country back on its feet. To that end, 2 weeks after the reporting of the first case of coronavirus contagion in Chile, we launched an economic recovery plan, which as of today has mobilized around 12% of our GDP. We have to prevent this health crisis which ought to be transitory in nature if properly handled, from taking root as a long-term, serious economic and social crisis. What can we do at the global level to effectively and efficiently tackle this pandemic and emerge stronger than ever? Only collaborative and multilateral solutions will allow us to overcome this crisis and to emerge from it with renewed strength, standing on our feet once again. This pandemic, which is no respecter of borders, nationalities or ethnicities, has underscored the need to strengthen international cooperation and governance, and also laid bare the sheer degree of interdependence within the international community. It is in times of crisis that we need, more than ever before, leadership and cooperation between all nations. The major powers, instead of squaring off against one another on economic and health issues, should be at the forefront of the fight against this global pandemic, as well as at the forefront of the fight to overcome the recession it has brought in its wake, rather than allowing a glaring and alarming leadership vacuum to fester as we're seeing today. In terms of healthcare, this leadership should entail sharing diagnoses and knowledge, coordinating closures and openings of borders, pooling efforts for development, and working as hard as we can to ensure that as soon as possible we have a safe and effective vaccine. There is a particular need in terms of leadership for the leaders of this movement to cooperate and collaborate with the most vulnerable countries. The trade war that we're living through today has led to stagnation of international commerce and investment. It has led to the weakening of free trade. It has allowed protectionism to emerge and has left the World Trade Organization moribund. To promote free trade and integration, to combat protectionism, to eliminate non-tariff barriers, to harmonize regulations and rules, to prevent and punish unilateral conduct that flouts the agreed international order, we need to rebuild a multilateral economic order with robust institutions that is respected and upheld by all and which is based on rules recognized and acknowledged by all. Moreover, we need to come together and prevent this pandemic and the global recession we are witnessing from playing into the hands of the forces of authoritarianism and populism which have sought to benefit from this crisis. We cannot concede our freedoms, which are won at such heavy price, because this would pose an enormous risk both to democracy and freedom and also to the development of our countries. What lessons and opportunities have we seen in the midst of the pandemic? My answer would be many. Firstly, we need to learn to be more humble. Despite all the scientific and technological progress in today's world, this virus has taught us a harsh lesson in just how vulnerable and precarious human life and our societies really are. Secondly, we need to learn to listen more and better to the voices of scientists, of local authorities and of civil society, and to stand permanently ready to change course whenever the evidence and proof deems this advisable. Thirdly, in the midst of this pandemic, we have learned the value of family. Family which has been for many the principal strength and stay, enabling them to meet and overcome the devastating and harrowing consequences that these times of adversity have brought in their wake. The coronavirus pandemic and the global economic recession have diverted our attention away from climate change and global warming. We have ended up with our focus on economic and health issues. But these looming threats of climate change and global warming have not paused. They continue to advance, and without a shadow of a doubt, our best option is to confront them simultaneously. The human being is, without a shadow of a doubt, the most intelligent and ingenious creature living on planet Earth. But it is also the only creature on this planet capable of destroying its own homeworld. Let us not beat about the bush. The threat of global warming is real and it's imminent. Science has spoken categorically and clearly. Our citizens are urging us to change course as a moral imperative. Technology furnishes us with the tools that we need, and common sense should spur us to action. The scientific evidence is irrefutable. The concentration of greenhouse gases and the current average temperature of the planet are the highest they have been in the last 800,000 years. We are being affected by intense heat waves, devastating floods, severe periods of drought, and powerful hurricanes. In addition, we are suffering serious levels of emissions and melting of the ice caps at the poles. We are witnessing the pollution of our oceans. We are seeing firsthand how the sea levels are rising, the increase in wildfires, the destruction of forests and woods, and myriad more alarming phenomena. And most worrying of all is the pace. Such changes to our climate and ecosystem evolved over millions of years in the past. Now they're taking place in mere decades. For that reason, the time for diagnosis and theory is at an end. It is high time that we act. What, therefore, is Chile's commitment to climate change and tackling it? We are absolutely committed to championing this cause, a cause that has inspired and mobilized millions upon millions of citizens all over the world. Chile was one of the first 10 countries in the world to submit a significantly enhanced NDC, or nationally determined contribution, living up to our obligations under the Paris Agreement. We are promoting a framework law for climate change, which has already been adopted unanimously within the Senate, and which sets the target of carbon neutrality by the year 2050 or before. It also spells out the strategies, plans and tools that are to be used to move towards and achieve that goal of carbon neutrality by or before 2050. We have shouldered the commitment of transforming Chile before the year 2050 into a carbon-neutral country, in other words, a country with zero net emissions of greenhouse gases. And we intend to reach that goal by driving forward the following actions, many of which are already underway. Firstly, the total closure of coal power stations before the year 2040. As of today, 44% of our sources of energy are clean and renewable, and we will reach 70% by the year 2030, if not 70% plus of our energy provided by clean and renewable sources. We're also speeding up the rollout of electric transport. We're replacing the fossil fuels used by our transport system by electricity and other clean sources of energy. By 2040, 100% of our public transport urban network will be electric. And, moreover, our capital, Santiago, has the most electric buses in circulation of any city in the world outside of China. We are also making progress in enhanced energy efficiency in all sectors and have rolled out special tariffs to gradually replace firewood by electricity as a source of heating, replacing not just firewood but other polluting sources of heating with clean electricity. We're also making headway quickly towards protecting our forests, our biodiversity and our reforestation. And in our reforestation projects we prioritise native species and nature-based solutions. To successfully succeed in our mission, we are forging an alliance worthy of the name, an alliance for climate ambition, bringing together the state, the private sector, civil society, and first and foremost, our citizens, the grassroots. We're also moving quickly to replace the throwaway culture by a culture of recycling, and to transform from a linear economy to a circular economy. We have, for example, eliminated the use and distribution of plastic bags, thus saving the use of some 5 billion such plastic bags which are used fleetingly and then thrown away and remain polluting our planet for centuries to come. This is the great challenge of our times. We have to make up for lost time, and we have to change the course of history to avoid a catastrophe and to ensure the survival and the quality of life of human beings on planet Earth. I would also like to share with you some reflections and thoughts on our home region, Latin America. Latin America has all the assets needed to be a developed region. expansive and fruitful land, abundant and multiple natural resources. We have been spared the wars that almost destroyed Europe in the last century. We have also escaped relatively unscathed the religious conflicts that have caused such damage throughout history. But nonetheless, and all the while recognizing the significant headway and progress that has been made on many fronts, Latin America continues to be an underdeveloped continent. A continent in which almost a third of the people live in conditions of poverty. Poverty which will increase as a direct result of the coronavirus crisis. Why is this the case? Why in Latin America have we not been able to fully tap the talent and the opportunities of our people? How have we failed to make progress towards genuine regional integration? And why are we lagging behind in fully joining the technological and digital revolution, which is the bedrock of the information and knowledge society? We are, I wish to acknowledge, making huge efforts to make up for lost time. 8 years ago, we established the Pacific Alliance, which is a regional benchmark for economic and social integration. A year ago, we set up PROSUR, a body, a forum for coordination and collaboration, bringing together all the democratic nations of South America, and moreover, a body which has proven very useful as a forum for coordination and cooperating on the way in which we tackle the coronavirus pandemic. That said, we have also suffered setbacks which have threatened freedom, human rights, democracy, the rule of law, and the quality of life. For example, I would point to the dramatic and worrying situation in Venezuela, where these principles are under permanent siege in a nation which is suffering the most serious political, social, economic, and humanitarian crisis of its history. We are firmly persuaded that the best solution for overcoming the crisis in Venezuela is the constitution of a transitional government which would then move swiftly to hold free and democratic elections so that the Venezuelan people themselves can freely and on a sovereign basis elect those whom they wish to govern them and may also in so doing chart their future course. Turning to another tack, the whole world is under threat from populism and from waves of irresponsibility, from the siren song of those who preach the path of least resistance, the path of rights without responsibilities, the path of success without the sweat of the brow. They preach progress without the need to work, the right to demand one's own rights without needing to respect the rights of others. And, here I will wrap up on this point, they also make the promise of easy solutions to difficult problems. Democracies live and die by freedom. They depend on freedom, and freedom demands responsibility as its quid pro quo. Freedom and responsibility, properly counterbalancing each other, are particularly vital at this time of crisis, because often, as we know, crises turn into a breeding ground for the emergence of populism and irresponsibility. In recent times, our region has witnessed social unrest and waves of violence, and Chile is no exception. 30 years ago, with unshakable determination and commitment to and from our people, we restored our democracy peacefully, and we gave birth to a new and modern republic, based on 3 basic agreements and pledges which are solid, unshakable and robust. Firstly, a deep-rooted commitment to democracy, to the rule of law, to the protection of human rights and to peace. Secondly, a robust agreement on the pursuit of a free, open and competitive market-based economy. And thirdly, an unwavering determination to put an end to poverty and to make progress towards a society that enjoyed greater equality of opportunities, equal dignity and equality under the law. Facts have shown that these agreements, forged some 30 years ago, have borne great fruit. Over this period of time, we have multiplied 5-fold our per capita income. We have reduced poverty from more than 60% to less than 10%, which has allowed 8 million Chileans, in other words, more than half of our population, to escape poverty. A broad and diverse middle class has emerged. Life expectancy has increased, child mortality has fallen, and we have increased the coverage, quality of, and access to healthcare and education at all levels. For example, in terms of education, we grew from 230,000 to 1.2 million students in higher education courses, the majority of them the first students in their generation, the first to go on to higher education. These achievements are the fruit of the work of many governments of different political stakeholders and stripes, who have remained firmly committed to the three aforementioned principles and to the mission of overcoming poverty and to achieving development, and to doing this in democracy and in peace. That said, over the last 30 years, we have not been sufficiently adept at harnessing the capacities of growth and development to reduce still further and with more determination and at greater speed the excessive inequalities. We have not been as swift and effective as we could be in curbing abuses, in making progress towards greater equality of opportunities, and to providing services of greater quality in areas of such importance as education, retirement and healthcare. Against that backdrop, at the end of last year, there arose in Chile and in other countries of the region and the world as well, large-scale social movements. In Chile, citizens of all ages and sectors of society took to the streets to demand better pensions, better healthcare and better education. They were also clamouring for fewer inequalities, for better quality of and lower costs for public services. They called for greater equality under the law and more control and checks and balances on abusive behaviour. All of these demands, despite the aforementioned progress, have been accumulating and building up over decades until the dam burst. The government listened carefully, sensitively, and alive to the urgency of these demands and calls, and rapidly rolled out a new social agenda to address concerns and to make progress towards solutions to these demands. Regrettably, hiding behind these legitimate protests, minority groups unleashed in our country a huge explosion of violence. We saw fires, arson, riots, destruction and delinquency, respecting nothing and no one, and causing great damage to the body and soul of Chile. In a democracy, we cannot tolerate any form of violence, be it physical or online on social networks. Violence, threats, and intolerance are incompatible with a democratic society, or a democratic society that seeks to live in peace. Any such democratic society must always be founded on respect, dialogue, and peaceful resolution of disputes. During these taxing and violent months, whilst we fulfilled our duty and responsibility to restore public order and to preserve citizen security, to which end we were forced to resort to states of emergency provided for in our constitution, our government took all possible and necessary measures and precautions to guarantee at all times respect for the human rights of each and every citizen of Chile. We applied strict norms and standards to regulate the use of force by the police in full compliance with existing international human rights standards. We adopted a policy of full transparency, allowing our citizens to have access to information related to human rights. And we also bolstered the public defenders system. We granted to our National Human Rights Institution and our Children's Ombudsperson logistical support and full unfettered access to all police institutions, hospitals and places of detention, together with any other facilities to which access was sought, to support and facilitate their important and vital task of protecting human rights, a task that they pursue independently in Chile. We invited the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights and the Inter-American Commission for Human Rights to visit Chile and to observe firsthand and for themselves on the ground what was taking place and the actions we were pursuing. Any evidence that came to light of abuse or of the excessive use of force were referred to the Public Prosecutor's Office, which by constitutional mandate has the duty to investigate such facts and reportings and, where applicable, then refer them on to the courts of justice so that the courts may then try and punish in line with the law, as indeed should be the case in any democracy worthy of the name where the rule of law prevails. We will continue to spare no effort to ensure that impunity does not exist in Chile, neither for those who violate human rights nor for the forces of violence that threaten our society. In these difficult times, when our democracy was under threat, our government proposed, and Chile decided, to pursue an institutional and peaceful resolution to the conflict through a constitutional reform that gave rise to a process that will begin as of the 25th of October of this year with a citizens' plebiscite. I am convinced that the overwhelming majority of the Chilean people wish to either fine-tune, modernize, or change our constitution. And at that plebiscite of the 25th of October, the citizens of Chile for themselves will democratically choose their preferred course of action. This crisis represents a golden opportunity to forge a constitutional agreement that will ensure that going forward our constitution will serve as an overarching framework for unity, stability, and projection into the future. It is also an opportunity to bring government closer to the people and to continue to make headway with greater energy and a greater sense of urgency towards a freer and fairer society with greater equality of opportunity, a society in which we all enjoy equal dignity and in which we are all equal under the law, and a society in which progress and development are more inclusive and more sustainable. We have to learn from the lessons of the past, lessons that have taught us the value of unity, dialogue, cooperation, and agreement. When all is said and done, a house divided against itself cannot stand. We also have to act, as I've said, with a sense of urgency, because there is no time to be squandered. We are firmly convinced that there can be no social justice absent growth and development, nor can there be any growth and development absent social justice. Chile is a country justly proud of its history, its tradition, and its identity, and with a strong inclination towards international cooperation and integration. A country where we are constantly asking ourselves how we can contribute, together with the rest of the family of nations of the world, to work together in order to ensure that this world is a place with greater freedom, peace, prosperity, and justice, with greater protection for the environment, and with greater capacity to live in harmony with that environment. For this reason, Chile contributes to the international community in many ways. For example, by caring for and protecting the Antarctic, which is the greatest reserve of fresh water in the world, and which plays an vital and irreplaceable role in combating climate change and in mitigating and staving off temperature rises and global warming. And in so doing, and in acting to preserve and care for the Antarctic, we're taking action to prevent the further melting of the ice caps, particularly in the Antarctic. The Antarctic is also a perfect natural laboratory for science, and scientists from countries in all continents around the world make use of this natural resource to advance science. Secondly, Chile is contributing to the development of our understanding of astronomy. The unique combination of high peaks, low atmospheric humidity, and clear skies means that almost 70% of the space observation capacity of the world is currently located in Chile. Thirdly, we have been contributing to the international community by setting up marine protected areas. Thanks to our pride in our natural resources and hard work, more than 42% of Chile's seas now are under environmental protection orders. Moreover, 21% of our land is protected in the form of parks, reserves, or national monuments. Fourthly, we have been actively pursuing and developing the energies of the future. Chile lacked the fossil fuels and pollutants that we used in the past, but we are immensely rich in the clean and renewable energies of the future. High levels of solar radiation in our deserts represent a huge potential for the generation of solar energy. The strength and regularity of the winds that blow across Chile mean high potential for generating wind energy. We are also moving forward in developing the energies of tomorrow by developing green hydrogen, which will benefit all of humanity as a non-greenhouse gas emitting fuel. The abundant reserves of copper and lithium in our country gift us with great potential in terms of electric transport. Fifthly, we have been connecting South America with Oceania and Asia through the Trans-Pacific fiber optic cable, a catalyst for promoting greater regional integration between our region and the Asia-Pacific region. It also acts as a catalyst for promoting innovation and nurturing a digital society. Sixthly, we have been producing safe and healthy foodstuff that supply the tables of the entire world with multiple different products. The last few months have been the most draining and difficult in recent history for Chile and the entire world. I am certain that the Chilean people will demonstrate once again their nobility and solidarity, that are the hallmarks of our peace. And the Chilean people will also show their resilience and level-headedness. Together, we will forge and create an ideal country in which to be born, grow up, study, work, and to start a family, and to grow old. A common and shared home, the home for all Chileans, a home in which we can have different views, but we can respect one another and our differences nonetheless. We will be ready to dialogue, to talk, and to reach agreement. And in thus doing, we will be able to build a better country and a better future, which we can then bequeath with pride and with hope to future generations. I wish you all a very good day and many thanks for your kind attention.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Republic of Chile for the statement just made.